Hey there, Prepper Marine 81 here, and as you can see, this is going to be going over some of the updated things that I've done to mod out my Glock. Some of these are going to be pretty obvious to you, just because you can see them right off the bat. I'll go over each thing that I did, and briefly kind of give you my 2 cents on the component, how it's performed thus far, the ease of changing it out, and so forth. Alrighty, first off, let's make sure the weapon is safe. Safe. Alrighty. Alright, let's get started here. I'll just start off with the obvious stuff that you can see right here. One thing that I did is I did put some of this like skateboard tape type stuff material on there. Now, one thing that I did have to do is the package that I bought had the 3 pieces right here, the part where it goes over kind of like where your thumb rests. The 2 parts on this were on the back of the slide in that package, but the panels that came right here were like they looked like little Punisher skulls, and I thought it would look neat, but once I put them on there, it just looked really cheesy, so I just took it off, and I bought a roll of I think the stuff that I bought was 3M's like stair tread tape. It's the same stuff basically, it just comes in a roll. So I cut out pieces to put on the front of the slide for when I'm doing press check or anything like that. That helps with that. I put a piece on the back right here for the same reason, and to aid just in, you know, power stroking the slide. Let's see where else. Oh yeah, but basically what I did is I just cut out a form for that instead of the skulls, because it just looked really dumb. But works good, and it doesn't look cheesy anymore. So that's that. And this stuff, I will say, is awesome. I love it. The improvement that you get in the overall feel of the weapon and just how controllable it seems now is like night and day. I mean, as soon as your hand goes into this, it's instant. You know, you get an instant purchase on it, like solid purchase. It's phenomenal. It changes it drastically. So I would highly recommend you putting some of this stuff on your weapon. Not even necessarily just your Glock, but just any weapon, period, where it would aid. But there's that. That stuff worked really well. I think you can buy a roll of that stuff at Home Depot for $12, and you're not going to use a whole roll anywhere near it. It'll last you a while. But that's that stuff. We'll move on to the back here. Try to get you a better shot here. This is called a grip force adapter. Now there's 2 different ones that come in the package. There's one that you can see has these grooves in it, and then the other piece, it's all smoothed out right here. So it just depends on your preference, what you like. Both of them basically come out the same far, or the same distance as on the beaver tail. So really the only difference is the one's smooth, one's not. Now I will say, this is a royal pain in the ass to change out. It is not, I don't know what I was doing wrong, but I could not for the life of me to get this thing to snap on. Because all you have to do is you have to remove this pin here, and then it comes with its own pins, extended pins, and it just snaps in, as you can see. Or it's supposed to just snap in, I should say. But the problem that I was having is whenever you you would put the pin in, you would start it, and then put this piece over through the hole, and then when you would go to try to snap the other side over top of it, the pressure, because of this tension, would basically push the pin back through the hole before it would snap over it. So I had to have someone else help me to where they would basically hold this in place as far over as they could while I took a punch and tapped the pin through. Then it finally went in. But I fought with it for probably a good 20 minutes trying to get the damn thing on. And because of that, I don't want to take it off. So that's the only drawback, is if when I do take this out to remove the whole trigger assembly to clean it, if it fights me as much as it did last time, I'm really going to question whether or not I leave this on, because I don't want to have to deal with that every time I do a detailed cleaning on this. Unless I can find a better way of attaching it, it's not going to be so difficult. But overall, I will say it does improve the way that your gripping angle is, it's not quite so drastic. Now, but I will tell you that this doesn't really. You would think that it would widen the grip or change the profile of the grip drastically. In my opinion, it doesn't really. It's not quite as drastic as what you might think it would be. You know, and what I mean by that is you're not going to put this on and change the geometry of your grip or the grip angle to, say, a 1911. It's not going to be that drastic. You're still going to have that very pointable, you know, grip angle that the Glocks are known for. If you like it or not, that's just the way it is. I mean, it's not going to change it drastically enough to now all of a sudden it feels like a new gun. It doesn't. I'm sorry, in my opinion. It does aid in that. I will say that it does make an improvement, but it doesn't. It's not as drastic as what you might think. Now, if you have meatier hands, the webbing part where the grip goes in, that's probably going to be a little bit more filled in for you than what mine is, because as you can see, I've got thin hands. Doesn't fill up like that in this little area back here. But if you did, your hand would probably look more like this, which probably would change it a little bit more for you. Now, I will say that if my hand did do that naturally, or when I do have gloves on, it does do this. It sits up into the palm of your hand like that, which honestly helps a lot with mitigating recoil. So in that instance, it does do what it says it'll do, and it prevents that whole muzzle flip a little bit more. But for me personally, just because my hands are thinner, it only does it when they're gloved. But for you probably wouldn't need to do that, or the average person, I should say. So good product. I will recommend that. It's relatively inexpensive. I don't recall off the top of my head what I did spend on that, but I don't remember it being that much. I'll put it in annotations if I can find the receipt somewhere. Excuse me. All right, we'll go on to this guy. This is your extended, this is Glock manufactured, slide release lever. It does aid in that quite a bit. I will say that it does make a pretty decent improvement, because before, when you go to actuate this, there really wasn't anything for your thumb to grab onto. This is just right there. So that does work a whole lot. They're easy to change out. One thing I will let you know that I didn't kind of realize until after I'd done it wrong, installed the part incorrectly, is when you're removing this, don't take out that top pin. The reason why I say that is if you do remove that top pin, when you put the new one in, and you push that top pin back in, the spring that is on this that loops up is going to be sitting over top of that pin now. Most of you probably already know that if you're going to change this out, but just a little heads up, just kind of make sure that you don't do that, because if you do that, what happens is the weapon will have a tendency to will lock back on its own, even if you have more rounds in the magazine. Or even if you don't even have a magazine in, if you try to pull the slide back, it'll just do this every time. It won't be free flowing like that. It won't do that. It'll just lock back every time that you pull the slide back. So just FYI, just something to watch out for. Just make sure you don't do that. But super cheap on the part. I do kind of wish, I mean, I don't mind this thing, but I do kind of wish I would have stayed with Lone Wolf, because that's what I bought for my extended mag release and the extended slide lock bar. And both of these two pieces I felt were just the way they felt in hand, felt a little bit better quality to me than the Glock OEM part. This felt a little bit cheaply made. I'm sure it'll work just fine, but I'm kind of picky about that sort of thing, and I wish I would have stayed with the same Lone Wolf brand for all of my extended controls. But that's functioning well so far, so no complaints really. Just wish I would have stayed with the same manufacturer. Moving on, this extended, but I forgot to tell you, this is pretty easy to install, as long as you make sure that you're paying attention to that pin thing. This is even easier to install. It's just a little simple flat bar, real simple. Take the slide off, there's a little spring in there that you have to push down, thing slides right out. Slide the new one in, good to go. Real simple. Again, inexpensive part to change out, does aid a whole lot in taking this slide down. Now watch me screw it up, just like I just did. Oop. Camera malfunction. Get you fixed here. Sorry about that. It's hard to do this in front of the camera with my arms wrapped around the camera. But yeah, it comes off a hell of a lot easier than the factory tabs do. Because the factory tabs, you got to kind of like get your thumbnail in there. These you can grab pretty easily. So big improvement on that, as you might have guessed. Easy to install, cheap part, highly recommend. I would recommend changing out all 3 of these controls to extended. There's a huge benefit in doing each one. They're cheap, they're easy to change out, so I really don't see the point in leaving them stock, for the money. The benefit that you're getting out of that is profound. So would recommend doing that quite a bit. Let's see, what else did we change? Oh, let's see if I can, you probably can't even see it here. There we go. This is a stainless steel guide rod in a new spring, obviously, because you have to have a new spring. These, relatively easy to change out. I mean, the part itself is easy to change, but putting the spring on, while you can kind of, see if I can get you a picture here. Focus, focus, focus. This is like a little hex screw. You have to compress the spring over the rod and then screw this in at the same time. And that was a little bit of a pain, not too bad. But compressing that 17-pound spring with one hand while you're screwing that in is a little bit difficult. You got to have a good, sturdy surface to be pushing down on, but easily done. Just a couple minutes. And I really wanted to change that out because I did not like, and I really wish Glock would change this. I don't know if they did in the Gen 4s. I don't believe they did. From it being plastic, that is kind of stupid on my part, or in my opinion, I'm sorry, to have that plastic. Yes, I know the weapon functions just fine. It can get hot without any kind of worries. But, I mean, I have seen them fail before once they reached a certain temperature. So I decided it was well worth the money. This is a little bit more of an expensive change to do. I want to say $30, $40, something like that, if I remember right, to change the rod and spring out. But on the other hand, if you look at it, you've got, once you change this out, you now have a spare. You actually have a spare for all of these controls now. So it's kind of a win-win. You're changing it out for better parts, but you got backups now. So, not that big of a deal. Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to change anything else out on the weapon. I've been thinking about sights, going to a night sight or something, but, oh yeah, I forgot to show you that. Yes, and as you can see, I marred the crap out of it, which I'm really pissed off about. This is remarkably easy to change out, real simple. If you know how to take it apart, you probably already know how simple it is to change those out. Just a little cosmetic thing, same as you can see right there on the magazine floor plate. Matching, it's Greek for come and take 'em. I just thought that's really neat. I like that saying. I've actually got a t-shirt. Actually, I think I'm wearing the t-shirt right now that says this. But, yeah, I changed that out as well. But I scratched the crap out of it, which really pisses me off. So, whatever. That's something to watch out too, is I think the metal that they use, because these are laser engraved, is kind of soft. So watch out for that when you do buy them. Is be careful when you're taking it out, because you can easily mess up or mar this steel plate if you're not careful, obviously. Back to the sights. I like this sight picture, so I don't really know if I'm going to change them out. Maybe I will in the future. If I do, I'll let you know what I think. But let me see. I think that's it. I'm not going to change the tension from that 5.5 pound trigger pull to 3 or 3.5, whatever the standard change out is for these. And the reason why, and this might be kind of a stupid reason, is using this weapon and familiarizing myself with this weapon, because this is my everyday carry weapon. Yes, I do carry a full-size Glock 22, fully loaded, with 2 extra mags, fully loaded, every day. It's part of my EDC. So it's not that bad. I'm telling you, it's not that bad. You get used to it. But anyway, the reason for that is I don't want to have really good muscle memory on my trigger pulls for this weapon and go to pick up a different Glock and it be different because I've messed with the trigger on this. I want that same consistency that you get out of the trigger pull with the Glock. It's always being the same, that same 5.5 pounds every time you pull the trigger, to every other Glock that I pick up. So if I have to pick up a Glock in a hurry and I grab a different Glock, not this one, I don't want my trigger pull to be like, whoa, what's going on here? Why is it, why is this so much different now? Because I've gotten used to 3.5 rather than the stock 5.5. Maybe kind of stupid to some people, but to me that's important to have that consistency built into my shooting ability. I don't want to mess with it. And to me, this 5.5 pound trigger pull, the triggers on these things are, in my opinion, remarkably nice. They're crisp. There's not a lot of slack in them. 5.5 pounds is not that bad. So I just don't want to mess with it. That's kind of just my opinion on it. But that's that. I did change out. I really like these things. These are Magpul speed plates. I put them on the back of my 2 spares that I keep in my Kydex holster. I like them a lot. When you go to pull the mag out, when you go to pull the mag out, my hand just naturally grips that little pinky thing to index it when you pull it out, and then when you go to put it into the weapon, this floor plate is really nice the way it kind of like naturally goes into the center of your palm when you slam the mag home. So I do like those. Those are cheap too. And the other one, this one is steel, so it adds a little bit of bottom weight to this, which I like. It makes it drop out a little easier. This I think was $12 or $13, something like that. I can't remember. But this little cosmetic thing. But there you go. There you have it. That's what I've done to my Glock 22 so far. So let me know what you think. Anything else that maybe you guys have done to your Glocks that you like a lot, changing out grips or whatever it is that you've done. Just let me know. Leave it in the comments. I'd like to hear it. And as always, thanks for watching. Perfect Marine 81 out.